dried-up lake reveals a forgotten Oregon town. In the 1950s, the village of Old Detroit was deserted and sunk in a reservoir. The West's epic drought, which has lasted more than 4 years, has just revealed a surprise in northern Oregon. The abandoned village of Old Detroit has resurfaced beneath Detroit Lake, which had record low water levels in 2015. Marion County Sheriff's Deputy Dave Zahn was traveling along the reservoir in October when he came across an 1870s wagon partially immersed in the muck. Detroit Lake was 143 feet below capacity at the time. The wagon remained in perfect condition due to the low oxygen levels at the lake's bottom. According to United States Forest Service archaeologist Cara Kelly of the Statesman Journal, the wagon was probably damaged more in the weeks it was on land than it had been underwater for decades. The wagon, as well as an adjacent concrete octagonal pit that has yet to be identified, have now fallen underneath Detroit Lake after recent rainstorms raised the water levels. To prevent plundering and destruction, the Marion County Sheriff's Department and the nearby ranger station opted to keep the archaeological site hidden until water levels rose again. Receding water levels have also lately revealed a 400-year-old chapel in Mexico. In 1952, the 200-person village of Old Detroit was abandoned to make way for the construction of a new dam that would flood the area, about an hour east of Salem, and create the Detroit Lake Reservoir. Parts of the historic town became visible above the water every winter when the spillways of the Detroit Dam are opened to make place for spring runoff. However, the wagon has never been found before, and water levels have not been as low as they were in 2015 since 1969. It could be decades before the water levels in Detroit Lake drop to that low again, which is precisely what Zahn and the Forest Service want. China's Advanced Artificial Sun Fusion Reactor just broke a new world record. Huge advancements in clean energy came in May of 2021 as the Chinese Academy of Science hit a new world record with their fusion machine. On May 28th, the fusion machine at the Chinese Academy of Science reached a staggering 120 million degrees Celsius. This temperature was maintained for 101 seconds, breaking the previous record. Before this staggering temperature, EAST, or the Experimental Advanced Superconducting Tokamak, managed to keep the plasma active for a similar length of time, but at a much lower temperature, at 50 million degrees Celsius, which was easier to control, and this was achieved back in 2017. Similarly, the fusion reactor is not unfamiliar with high temperatures, managing to hit 100 million degrees for just 10 seconds in 2018. May 2021 is the first time we have seen the best of both worlds, a good duration and high temperature. Whilst the stats might not mean much to the less technological amongst us, this has significant potential and represents a momentous leap forwards in space developments and sustainable clean energy sources. The blistering temperature of 100 million degrees is generally considered to be the target to hit in order to start generating power. Now, however, researchers in China have proven we can sustain, for at least 101 seconds, the plasma in the fusion machine at 120 million degrees Celsius, well above the threshold to generate power. For context, this is 8 times the temperature of the Sun's core. This milestone pushes us one step further to the artificial sun that could revolutionize energy usage. Li Miao, a physicist with the Southern University of Science and Technology, commented, "The breakthrough is significant progress, and the ultimate goal should be keeping the temperature at a stable temperature for a long time. The complexity of the research that goes into a fusion reactor largely comes from trying to emulate the conditions of the sun, as we hope to mimic similar chemical reactions to those that naturally occur in the star. Whereas gravity plays a key role in pushing the nuclei of the hydrogen atoms together in the sun, the same gravitational forces work against us here on Earth and cannot be replicated to reflect the sun's conditions. To compensate for this, the sky-high temperatures and the specialized nature of the generators used create a similar effect, or at least, with this new record, are getting closer to this same reaction occurring. The excessive heat and the length of time said heat can be maintained for means that the plasma can be held in place long enough for the fusion process to take place. The new record, showing a prolonged time and a high temperature, suggests we may not be as far off from this as we may have thought just a few months ago. In theory, if these practices can be smoothed out and made readily available, we would have a system to produce masses of energy on a huge scale without using greenhouse gases or producing much radioactive waste. Some people believe research into fusion power could lead us to the clean energy source we have been looking for. Whilst this is certainly an ideal solution, we are still a while away from this becoming a reality. So far, we use more energy to run the fusion reactor than we are able to gain from it, though it could be just a few decades until we achieve this cleaner energy system. Although a fair bit of trial and error, research and patience remain. This new record is a major breakthrough to making nuclear fusion a reliable energy source. One day, in the not too distant future, this could do wonders for the climate crisis. New signal discovered in the human brain. If you thought that we know everything there is to know about the human body, you would be wrong. The truth of it is, our bodies are so complex that scientists and doctors are constantly unearthing new ways our cells work to keep us alive. And one of those new findings is the recent discovery of a type of cell signaling within the brain that has never been seen before and has the potential to revolutionize our understanding of how the brain computes. Neurons within the central nervous system communicate with each other via action potentials created by an influx of ions such as sodium, chloride, and potassium that cause channels within the neurons to open and close, thereby propagating the signal. The key behind these signals, however, is that they are either off, meaning that the channels are closed and the action potentials are not passed down, or on, where the signal can be passed to the next neuron. A channel can only switch to the on position when an action potential threshold has been reached by an accumulation of ions, resulting in an all or nothing response. This appeared to limit the capacities of the human brain, but scientists knew that there had to be more to the story in order to account for the complex operations our brains are capable of. Finally, German and Greek researchers measuring electrical activity in brain cells removed from patients during surgery uncovered findings that show strange, graded signals in the brain's outer cortical cells that only diminished when calcium blockers were administered. This was revolutionary, as it meant that the action potentials were being triggered not by sodium and potassium, but by calcium. What is more, the signals were not transmitted in a simple open or shut pattern, but rather triggered in voltage waves distinctly unlike the action potentials observed elsewhere in the brain. This seems to indicate a network solution of sorts is required for these types of signals, which has huge implications for our understanding of how logic functions realistically in the brain. While this discovery is going to be massively important for future generations of neuroscience, it can also impact future technologies. Our brains are often likened to computers, and for good reason, and looking inward can help to develop artificial intelligence with a more fluid capacity for learning, logic, and associated between stored memories. For now, however, more studies are needed to be able to fully understand what this new discovery means for our understanding of our own minds. But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.